So thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to share some thoughts we have, some things you might want to consider to adapt your business and marketing, adapting them for this new normal. I want to start with a couple of commercials to show you how pervasive this is. This particular one was pretty popular. You might have seen it. There's a link at the bottom of the slide that will take you to actually watch it. In interest of time, I'm not going to actually play these first two. But, you know, this is a commercial. It's basically a commercial from Ford pitching their contactless selling, you know, order the car online, they drop the keys off and so on. And that's the main message. But actually in preparing for the practicum, I noticed the very last scene in the commercial, you see in the lower right, the woman is looking at her sleeping baby in the crib. And I realized that underlying the whole thing was a safety message, right? Which I thought was very interesting. So very big company, contactless selling and safety message. Here's a Pizza Hut commercial. It's a pretty typical Pizza Hut commercial. Again, you can click the link at the bottom to see it. But interesting twist on it is as the guy is pulling the pizza out of the oven and sliding it into the box, the voiceover says, once it leaves our 400-degree ovens, the only person who touches your pizza is you. And to emphasize that, they even put a nice little sticker on the box. So clearly, it's a food safety message, right, is what they're doing. And this is obviously a national, very big company. And so I wanted to show you the next one. This is from a local real estate broker here in Concord, Mass. And what their approach, this is a TV commercial also, they're taking a key sales step for residential brokers, the house tour, and they're trying to virtualize it so they can actually do business today.
I'm Laurie Cadigan, CEO and owner of Barrett Sotheby's International Realty. If you're like many who still have a need to buy or sell a home during these trying times, please visit barrettsir.com and take a virtual tour of properties that are on the market or coming soon to the market in the greater Boston area. You can take a full walkthrough, play a curated tour, move through a three-dimensional dollhouse layout and floor plan on your phone or computer right from your own home. I hope you and your loved ones stay safe and healthy.
So I really wanted to contrast that. I mean, this is not just the realm of big companies, right? This is a local broker with this kind of a commercial. It's also not just messaging and positioning that's changing. COVID-19 is turning out to be a pretty good disruptor at many things, right? And so there's a recent New York Times story, again, that link will bring you there, that all of a sudden, you know, name brands, the Westons of the world, might have an advantage of Joe down the street, the Airbnb host, in terms of perceived ability to better clean their rooms, sanitize their facilities, right? So all of a sudden, the disrupted maybe is being disrupted, right? And then take the category online shopping. That seemed to be really quite stable, but amazingly, Instacart is beating Amazon in groceries right now. Target and Walmart, who admittedly had spent a lot of money prior to COVID to set this up, developing an online channel, they grew substantially more than Amazon did the last 2 months. So, you know, even the tried and true and even the gorilla Amazon, there's some flux there all of a sudden, right? So lots of things are changing. So what do you want to think about, right? How should you think about how should you adapt the business and marketing strategies for some of these things? Of course, this whole talk is a little bit crystal ball, a little bit expertise, a little bit hypotheses and so on, but I think there's a lot of good thought behind it. So we're going to go through 7 points. The first one is something you can be doing right now. And this came up actually a lot in the USA 500 meetings. Basically, it's do the right thing, right? How many Zoom meetings was I in where people were bemoaning their big bank and their PPP loan and they couldn't get any information? And I'm leaving Bank of America. I'm going to go to my local bank, right? So that's something to think about, let alone if you're price gouging, if you're not willing to be flexible on payment terms with your clients and so on. All right, so this is a lesson learned. Do the right thing so you don't get punished later. Eric's going to have some more examples, by the way, about this specifically with real estate. A really important belief we have is that we're going to need to rigorously enforce the scientific and medical recommendations. So much so that I would argue that this is a foundational business strategy that everything else is going to be built on. One of our employees, Tina, recently went to her local Dunkin' Donuts at the drive-thru, and the employee was wearing a mask, but she reached through and was handing the coffee in a gloveless hand. She was not wearing gloves. And it took Tina aback, right? She did take the coffee, though, I asked her. But, you know, play that scenario out. Let's say Tina got sick, and then she decided to blame on Facebook that Dunkin' Donuts store that she gave me COVID, right? You know, the Tylenol scare from the 80s when some lunatic was actually injecting arsenic into Tylenol bottles, killed 7 people. Turns out that sickening or killing your customers is a way to quickly destroy your brand. It's probably marketing 101. In this case, Johnson & Johnson was able to salvage their multi-billion-dollar brand, but it cost them a lot of money that most small businesses don't have. So the lesson here is don't kill your customers, right? And really the issue there is enforce the recommendations. And there's another point on the next slide about this. This third point is something professional service firms are going to be very familiar with. Trust has always been a key element of your all marketing strategy, but we believe it's going to be even more critical for even more businesses, not just professional services, because customers are going to vote with their feet. If they don't believe your claims that it's safe to do business with you, they're not going to come in. They're not going to buy from you, right? And just continuing that example, even if that Dunkin' Donut drive-thru employee was wearing gloves, I can't see into the kitchen. I have to trust the owner of that franchise is doing the right thing behind the scenes. And that's not limited to restaurants, that's limited to everything, all right? And another kind of related point, whether you agree with those recommendations or not, some people debate, do I really need the gloves, and was that really buying, and so on. Whether that's true or not, I would argue it doesn't matter, because it's an important signal. You're adhering to those things. It's an important signal to your customers and employees that your business is safe. Whether that person needed to wear gloves and she's handing the thing or not, the CDC says she should be wearing it. If you want to get employees to come back, they need to feel secure and so on. So signaling is sort of the flip side of this whole thing about this foundational health and safety strategy. By the way, there's an opportunity for the professional service firms on this call. As I said, you're all familiar with trust marketing. Well, here's an opportunity to share some of your experience with how you build trust and so on with your clients who maybe never thought about it before because they're not professional service firms. So there's an ability here to add some value beyond your direct service for you. Fourth point, most businesses, probably every retailer, needs to very quickly consider the range of contactless through minimal contact options. So the first one's getting a lot of press. It's kind of the obvious one, the Pizza Hut, the curbside delivery, the online ordering. The Zoom and virtual house tours, again, it's an example of virtualizing a sales process. And if you think about it, a Zoom call with 2 prospects and then a virtual house tour, it kind of pairs pretty well. It's not the same as being there, right, and doing it in person, but it's not that bad a proxy, and it lets your business keep going. And there's probably lots of other aspects of your sales process you could be thinking about. Another thing, drive-thrus people have historically thought of as really just sort of banks and fast food. That's what drive-thrus are today. But USA member Rickard Byrne posted on LinkedIn that they had a drive-thru signing. And since then, I've seen lots of other firms have done this too. But it raises a whole host of issues about, can I do it in my parking garage? Is it dark? Is it dingy? Is it like oil stains on the floor? Is that the right appearance? How am I going to organize this thing in the parking lot? It's a bunch of things you probably never thought about it to try and create drive-through signings or drive-through law firms. This drive-by art galleries is something I read over the weekend. That's a hashtag on Instagram. There are hundreds and hundreds of projects with drive-by art. And what galleries in LA are doing, that's an LA map, are they're basically virtualizing their gallery. They're putting their art out into the streets, and then between the hashtag and GPS, people can drive around and see the different art, right? So these last 2 are really kind of interesting. It leads us to our 5th point. The notions of client access and how you'd appear to clients is changing. It's not just necessarily the fancy conference room anymore. It's what's my drive-through look like, right? And even the physical boundaries. I mean, these galleries are basically not virtualizing the sales process, they're virtualizing their business. They're putting it out into the streets, so to speak, right? So number 5 is a really interesting one and potentially a pretty profound one. I did, of course, want to talk a little bit about marketing. And, you know, initially when the thing first hit, most folks had this deer in the headlights. Oh, I got to cut my expenses and preserve everything. But over time, we're seeing companies coming back and increasing their marketing spend because you understand fundamentally, marketing is an investment in growing your revenue. And frankly, when times are easy and prospects are falling out of trees, you don't necessarily need marketing. When times are tough, like right now, it's hard to generate new business. That's exactly when you do need to do marketing. So a couple of thoughts on marketing in the new normal. Planning ahead, seeing trends is helpful. That's why Walmart and Target were prepared for that kind of growth. Again, that particular omni-channel strategy, e-commerce plus physical stores, that's not just big guys. We have lots of small clients with one store and an e-commerce site. But what that would have meant the last few months is you weren't dead in the water. You had some ability to sell and do some work. And some of our clients is exactly what they did. Again, for all businesses, we think self and health messaging and its related cousin signaling is going to be very critical right now. For professional service firms, we have a particular challenge because we rely so much on in-person marketing tactics. That's the way we generally generate business. So the old face-to-face networking, events, seminars, trade shows where you look people in the eye, shake their hand, that's not coming back for a while. So we have to replace them with some new things. And frankly, USA 500 is a perfect example of sort of a new virtual networking, and that's done very, very well, right? You know, equal or better, some would argue, to the other kind of networking. Curated events is our own term for this notion of replacing big events, big trade shows with much smaller regional, so you don't have to fly anywhere, you could drive, in brand name locations so you feel like it's going to be safely maintained, and then a curated list. Instead of inviting thousands and 10,000 people to a trade show, invite the 20 decision makers or 200 thought leaders or whatever, right, as a way to do some of those curated events where you can control things and position them, not just position them, have them also be safer. A very critical thing, and this is independent actually of the disease itself. This also applies to just whether we're going to have a bad economy. I think it's very important for every company to try to shorten their time to first dollar. And in terms of professional service firms, I think that really means reevaluating their service mix. Most service firms have a single take it or leave it all-encompassing service. I'll pick on wealth managers as an example. I'm a wealth manager. I could become, you know, your wealth manager, right? Well, that's a really consequential decision. That's my retirement, that's my kid college, and so on. And so I don't jump into those decisions lightly. I really consider them a long time, and that's what results in very, very long sales cycles. People sit in your pipeline for years. So one strategy is to unbundle your services. We've done this quite a few with different clients who've been very successful. Unbundle your services so you can create tiered offerings that build on each other and provide a natural upgrade path. There's a lot of information in this graphic, but let me get across a couple of points. So what we're illustrating here with good, better, and best is sort of unbundling the monolithic battleship service and making it a tiered strategy. Importantly, the gradient here, the lower level ones are less dollars, less commitment, and therefore less time in your pipeline. Right? They're not a consequential decision for the prospects. Towards the top, it's more. So let's go back to that wealth manager example. Unbundle the battleship wealth management and spin out a specific financial planning service. Right? Now, one of the other nice things is that the things down here at the bottom of this pyramid tend to lend themselves much better to traditional lead generation marketing tactics. So while nobody is going to click an ad and choose a wealth manager from a Google online ad, they will, because we've done it, they will click an ad and sign up for a financial planning service that's X amount of money, right? Now, if you think about that, they're in your office, you're presenting the plan, you've gotten to evaluate the chemistry, hopefully they think you're really brilliant. It's a very natural progression for them to say, you know what, I like your plan, can I hire you to implement the plan? That's an example of what I meant by that natural upgrade path. You know, the good leads naturally into the better if you construct them correctly. You also get bonus points if your entry offering is a fixed price. So the financial plan is not some unpredictable price. It's how many hours it's going to take us to do it. It's X amount of money. You can even put that in the ad potentially if you wanted to, right? So this is something that is a way, especially between using the traditional lead gen tactics, between making it, coming up with offers that are easier to adopt because they're not as consequential. You can shorten the time to first dollar. So in summary, I want to just take a sort of a case study, a little summary there on the left for you, but imagine you're a restaurant owner. Your whole life, your goal was to have great tasting food, high quality service, get Michelin reviews. That's how you viewed your business, that's how you manage your business, that's how you marketed your business. Then COVID hits and the government says, forget all that, and they throw you into this world that's very tech heavy. Online ordering and curbside pickup and all this stuff, which is probably not one of your strengths. And all of a sudden, now they're telling you soon it's going to be 25% occupancy, 50% occupancy. And now you got to do this hybrid business. You got to do the business that you've known all your years of in person. And now you can do this remote thing. And how do you fit all these things together? There's a lot of changes psychologically in the business strategy, the marketing strategy, lots of changes. So my contact info is there on the right. Feel free to reach out with any questions. We have helped clients do this day in and day out, not necessarily for COVID reasons, typically for internal business, want to change their business for this or that reason. But nonetheless, we're happy to talk with you. We're happy to send you copies of the presentation.